All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Springing into Football. Today we have myself, Diego, and a feature in Ducky in Disguise, also known as Ducky Disguised. It says Ducky in Disguise on our meeting here, but Ducky, you are one of the most active Pro Football Newsroom members, and I've known you for a little while. You also have a pretty large social media following amongst your, maybe not pretty large, but one that is pretty, like, I don't know, I sought after or followed. Like, you, some of your things you've done over the years have definitely brought a lot of attention to the league, and we appreciate your presence, like, for just all spring football fans in general, because this was a long anticipated episode. We wanted to get you on when we were in the earlier stages of our podcast, but we never really got it past a certain point, but we're glad you can join us tonight. So Raf and AJ, our other two members, weren't able to make it tonight. AJ was kind of on a short notice, and then Raf is apparently flying somewhere today. So we wish him safe travels and wherever he may end up. I don't exactly remember or recall where he said he was going, but nonetheless, we hope he has safe travels. So we're going to talk about, this is our 11th episode of our third season. So today we're going to talk about just some week 5 recap stuff, like we always do. We do these weekly episodes, Ducky, how I've sent you a couple in the Discord, how we're just going to talk about some things that you saw in week 5 and also give our opinions on other floating things around the league. So usually in our early going of the episode, we usually get everybody's thoughts on just overall thoughts on the weekend. What did you like? What didn't you like? What maybe would you like to see going forward? Obviously now reaching the halfway point in the season, there's definitely a lot that you could potentially, say, like, we have enough evidence of how the league has done, at least for, maybe like the back end the back end of things. It's not so much the play. Like, I know Mike Repole on the Pat McAfee show just recently said, like, the offenses should start picking up now. But then Pat McAfee responded with, the defenses are really looking good, and they've been flying around for these past 4 weeks. So, wait, did we? Yeah. So again, it's one. So I just wanted to get everybody's thoughts. Again, I'll go ahead and share mine. But if either one of you guys wanted to start, we can get our thoughts on what you guys liked from the weekend, what maybe you didn't like, and maybe just overall, what did you?
I'm gonna start with the latter. I just want to say that the Stallions, they ain't looking too good right now. That game against DC, that was a clusterfuck, to say the least. Orion Thompson-Robinson looked very good in his first start, aside from the 2 interceptions. I love the mobility he has, just able to make a lot more opportunity, but, I am, in a way, still kind of sad about Matt Corral now that he's relegated to a backup. And that game in Orlando, though, that was pretty good. I'm think for the most part, everyone had Orlando winning that one, but then Harrison Frost just shocked everyone. And then following Sunday, Houston winning it over the Aviators. Ferris, I'm sure you probably feel some sort of way about that.
Well, Ducky's an Aviator fan too.
Yeah.
So we were both.
A little swipe deck.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I have us winning next week, which we'll get into later. Ducky, we'll also get your answer on that too. But Diego, did you have anything else?
No, you're good, man.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, other than that, it was some solid games. The Louisville Kings, I think that one probably shocked me the most. They almost went for 50 in that game. He looked very good. I was really happy when he signed with the league. I think this is a great opportunity to just get some tape out there, of course. But yeah, no, other than that, very solid week.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great week indeed. We saw a lot of high scoring affairs. We saw, including your guys' game, Diego, and then we saw the Kings do it as well. And then some defensive battles. Columbus and Houston was very defensive heavy, but Houston doing just enough to win. And Columbus and Houston will face off once again this weekend, and I'm excited for that one. I'm hoping Columbus comes up on top, but again, now being at home, back at historic Crew, I think we have a pretty good shot. So we'll see. I think we have one of the best home crowds, if not the best. We're taking over the shirtless section in terms of the dying shirtless section. That is.
I don't know, man. We might have a second one now in Orlando, which okay. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, Orlando's also doing some good stuff too. You're right. They're starting to really get a lot of things surrounding them, and it's really, they just actually signed Chris Claybrooks before we came on here. Eli sent that in our group chat, and he's like, "This guy's really good," and I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, he'll work out in spring football, but he's had some time in the NFL, but yeah." So, all right, Ducky, did you have any thoughts on this past weekend? Maybe what stood out to you? What did you think?
I think the Kings they're a whole different team now compared to what they were. I think they're definitely one of the teams that people should be watching out for now, especially with Rodgers, the way he played. Jason Bean was already pretty good at what he was doing, and it was crazy whenever he got traded. Everybody was like shocked, and now we know why he got traded, because they have Rodgers, and he's better than what Bean was doing and stuff like that. And I think the Kings are definitely a sleeper team, and people should be watching out for them. And DC, as always, the dominant Goliath in the league. I don't think anybody's stopping them anytime soon. But other than that, Aviators still have no ball protection going on, and I was glad that Orlando lost.
Yeah. No, listen, I also thought a lot of the same stuff. I think we were talking about Chandler Rodgers a little bit in the past, with how, we saw him come in for a couple snaps, but now having the full operation of the offense, he definitely looked like they're guaranteed quarterback one. Like, there's no debate there, right? So it's good to see him, control an entire game, and like you said, it's why we saw Jason Bean get traded. And I bet neither side was looking at that and saying we made a mistake. I thought when we came on the air, Diego, when we were on the air last week, we said last week or 2 weeks ago, it was like we were a little upset with that because Jason Bean potentially still of a quarterback one potential. But now we see what Rodgers accomplished, and we can firmly say that he produced a lot more than what Bean may have done if he was the quarterback in his spot. So it was really good to see him perform like that. And did you have anything, Diego?
I was gonna say, it's definitely a no-brainer that Rodgers has earned this start. I know I was a little skeptical about it because I'm like, is he really ready to enter the QB1 phase? How is he gonna look? Definitely exceeded expectations, and then that Louisville defense looked really good as well. Just kept picking Austin Reed's brain all day. I think they had about 3-4 turnovers. It looked really good. But it's just going to be interesting to see how that's going to translate in this Thursday game against St. Louis.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting games this week, but I think it's, again, like you said, we're getting only a week closer to the playoffs, and teams have to figure out so much more about what these teams really are. As far as my thoughts concerned for week 5, I really thought it was a pretty good week overall. I thought we saw a lot of different types of games. Like I said, defensive battles, offensive battles, whatever you want to call it, but as well as different quarterbacks taking the reins, which really gives you an idea that could be some coaching that potentially is the issue. Could be offensive line. could be, we did talk about it. Louisville's other position groups have looked really good. They just needed a quarterback to really take them to that next level, and Chandler Rogers did just that, and we're hoping that he continues with that. So, all right. So, Ducky, we also do something every week like this where we grade a quarterback. So, we choose one out of the 8 quarterbacks that started this past weekend, and we attach a letter grade to them. So, what you do is you just put out a letter grade, and you kind of share some analysis, some reasoning, and yeah, you can whatever quarterback maybe you watch the most, or maybe
I mean, I feel like we'll have to go with Rogers with his first
okay,
full game start. Give him his first grade.
okay,
Honestly, I think A, B
okay,
plus, A minus, right in that range. He's just great. He picked apart Dallas's defense, running it through the air, running it on the ground, stuff like that. And then overall, he's just a great quarterback. I think he's probably second best in the league right now. I think right below, this is going to surprise some people, I think DTR is the best quarterback in the league right now. He just needs the weapons is what he needs. But overall, I think he's the best quarterback in the league. But overall, I mean, Rodgers is that guy. I mean, he's so good.
Yeah.
Especially for his first start, stuff like that. Most guys in their first game like that, they get the jitters and they don't do stuff correctly. I can't think of anything he did wrong that game.
Yeah.
He just consistent. A plus playmaking, stuff like that.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, listen, it was it's good you graded him because we haven't seen him get a first start until now, right? So we've probably graded every other quarterback at some point. Jason Bean when he was starting. Again, we do have a lot of repeats, but it's no surprise. Like we should have repeats with the nature of it only being an 8-team league. But it's good you brought up Chandler Rogers because like you said, a first start is never easy in any circumstance. And yeah. So Diego, did you have a grade here for any quarterback?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm gonna grade 2 quarterbacks here. I'm gonna carry back off of what Ducky said about DTR. I think, I definitely think that he's probably number 1, like you said now. I think just hearing that kind of just opened it up a bit for me. But I think he just looked really good, seemed comfortable with the ball. Nice to see wide receiver Deion Kane get the ball a little bit more, get a couple more looks. Shane Mickens, of course, another reliable weapon, looked really good in DC. I had to give him a rating. I would probably say an A minus, only because he had the 2 interceptions. But other than that, he passed for over 300 yards, which, is kind of unprecedented for a first start, as we said. And then the second quarterback I want to look at is Houston Gamblers quarterback Nolan Henderson. Just coming back from injury, playing with a broken finger, which I wasn't even sure if he was going to come back after seeing what Talia was looking these last 2 games. But if I had to give him a rating just with the way he rallied them to victory, probably say a C plus. Wasn't, wouldn't say anything groundbreaking, but enough to get the job done. As long as he looks good in practice, he'll probably start again this week. Yeah.
Yeah. It was listen, it was a wild week of quarterbacks. We saw a lot of new faces. We saw faces that maybe we haven't seen before take the scene in spring football. So it was good to see a lot of those new faces do well to an extent. And obviously some of the faces that we were used to seeing didn't do very well. So right on that note, I'll talk about Austin Reed. Okay. Austin Reed had a couple, the first couple weeks of the season really did well, was right up there with the top odds for winning MVP. And then now these last, couple weeks or so, he just hasn't looked the same. I don't know if it's a product of his offensive line. I don't feel like it is. I don't know if it's a product of him just making bad throws or his receivers not separating. We do know that I was talking about this not too long ago, but Ducky, if you remember this as well, when Cam Smith was holding his own against Tyler Vaughn's in that Aviators Renegades game, I thought that was, I mean, that's a product of good defense as opposed to, not being able to separate. But at the same time, I just think they need to figure it out. I'm sure Coach Neuheisel will be able to ride the ship. But for Austin Reed, I'll probably give him like a D for this past weekend, just with the nature of 4 interceptions, 2 of them being pick sixes. And I believe if you counted that 2-point conversion, right, that doesn't count on the stat sheet, but right, it's 5 picks total, right? And so we were so close. I attend North Central College where Luke Lannon obviously played at, and we were so close for him to get in, and instead they turned to wide receiver Greg Ward Jr., in which I was bawling my eyes out. And Ducky, you may be closer than Diego and myself to some of the league sources, and if you can provide any insight on why they did that, then I'd love to hear it. But
I don't think there's any insight in it. I think that's completely the coach's call. I think it's a bad call in my opinion. I mean, Luke's been sitting there for ever now, just waiting to get his call up, and I think he deserves it. I think Luke deserves it. I think it's just kind of goofy to have your wide receiver be a quarterback. It's just not very good.
I definitely agree. Luke Lennon is mad talented. Literally carried that team to a championship 2 years ago. Definitely should have gotten a look. I mean, we just learned a couple hours ago that Greg Ward's going to keep continuing to be the backup quarterback, which is really weird. I don't know if Neuheisel just doesn't believe in Lennon. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had Luis Perez, who you traded away, which I'm sure if, they would have easily turned to him right now if they still had him, but they don't. And so instead of going back to who was the quarterback 3 and going into the season, you're going to one of your receivers. Obviously, Greg Ward played quarterback in college, but again, it's a whole lot different, playing, maybe a half a semester or a half a year of that position, and against someone playing it for their entire life, or at least through their high school and college days completely. So yeah, I'm gonna tell some of my coworkers that Luke is officially being backup over a wide receiver, and they will not be very happy. That's how I'll say it, because I said it that they turned to their wide receiver and they were just in shock. But now that it's been keyed in that he's the official backup, they're only going to be that much more upset. So, but yeah, for Austin Reed, probably just a D. He didn't really show any flashes. Again, not sure. To our knowledge, he'll remain the starter for now, but don't know. We'll see how they can do here against the defenders. That's going to be a tough matchup for them, but if anybody can do it, it's Rick Neuheisel and the Renegades. But again, they're going to need all hands on deck. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and move on to our next topic. So just some storylines. So the Kings blow out Dallas. St. Louis breaks Orlando's streak, and then Ian Wheeler breaks the rushing touchdown record. So out of these 3 storylines, did you guys have anything kind of to add on to them? I know we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Ian Wheeler was hurt for a little while before returning to the team's running back room. And we did talk about how he did look good before that, outside of the fumble at the 1-yard line in the first week. But I thought, out of all the running backs, I thought he was one of the players with the most potential. We've seen a couple cuts in that running back room since then, but it's good to see him back and healthy and ready to go. The Kings turned to him in a huge moment against a big team, and he did really well. So Yeah, did you guys have anything? It could be about that one in particular. It could be about the other two. Would love to hear.
I think just to start off, I feel like the Louisville Kings run game was going to be fine either way, even though they cut Benny Snell over just because they had revamped that O-line in the past week, signing 2 new guys, because I mean, Chris Redmond was definitely frustrated about it, and just, when it's always going to be tough when you start 0-3 like that and just try to gain some momentum, especially in a new market. You would just hate to start seeing less and less fans at the game, and just, especially with guys that are local to Louisville like that. But carrying off of that, Orlando finally lost. No more undefeated teams. What's funny is that I always thought both the Renegades and Orlando were frauds. I just wasn't sure about which team was going to lose first. I originally had the Renegades losing, but then Orlando beat us. But now they got a taste of their own medicine after they shut us out. But I mean, they're still going to be a good team. I just don't know if they're going to still be in the championship. And then carrying off of that, as I said, Ian Wheeler, always good to see him get a couple more looks. And then, a lot of great storylines.
Yeah. Ducky, did you have anything?
Yeah, just about Orlando. It was inevitable. They were going to lose eventually. I think they were. I say this a lot in the Discord, but they're like they're 12-5 Steelers almost. It's like they look like they're very good, but they've had like this cupcake schedule. The Aviators, they only beat them by 7 the first game there, and it's just like they were probably the worst undefeated team I've probably ever seen. Eventually it was bound to happen, and then they traded DTR, and I think they're probably just going to be on this downhill slope from now on. I don't think they're that big of a team to be afraid of. They're very beatable, is basically what I'm trying to say. And it's funny that St. Louis beat them of all teams, because they're also the only other team to beat the other one-loss team.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
makes St. Louis look pretty good.
Yeah. I think we hear a lot about Orlando, right? From Max, from other people as well, right? So I'm glad. I know he was upset, but when your team, finally drops a game, right? I think Max, was thinking a little too much ahead. I think he was thinking that the Storm were the next spring football dynasty, which they will not stack up to the Stallions' legendary run.
It's DC. If anybody wants to know what team that is DC.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, hey, it's a fair point, but I think you make a great point. I think for Orlando, they have to look for answers. You said they traded away who you think is the best quarterback in DTR, and that's now they deal with Jack Plummer, who when Roth was on, he just thought he was average, and I completely agree. There's nothing he does that really stands out. I mean, Orlando's gotten lucky sometimes. We can say what it is.
I think the thing is with Orlando, a lot of teams are opposite. Orlando has great coaches. The players are just there. They're a product of great coaches, whereas there's other teams who just are great players, really bad coaches, like Houston, for example. They have great players there. The coaches are just so bad where they can't win games. But it is what it is with that. Sometimes coaching outdoes better players, because at the end of the day, the coaches call the plays.
Yeah.
So inevitably you could have good players like Houston, and you're not going to do good because your coaches are just calling bad plays.
Yeah.
Opposite in Orlando, you've got average players, but your coaches know what they're doing, so your players are going to do pretty well.
I think DC has probably the most balanced combination, right?
Yes, I completely agree. I think DC is number 1 in the league, and then there's a ginormous gap. 2 through 8.
Yeah. Listen, it is interesting. We obviously, Ducky, something we've talked about several times in the past is, head coaches with experience versus head coaches with non-experience. We had State of the Stallions post out kind of like either a graphic or just a tweet how he just posted the records of teams with I think you know which one I'm referring to, but it was something that is really interesting, and it's, again, you can be a product of good coaching, right? And somehow find a way, because the coaches did something that was just enough, or it could be the opposite, and the players can be really good, but the coaches may not be that good. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and move on to our next topic. DTR and Chandler Rogers' first start. We've talked about a lot of it so far, but if there's anything you guys have in addition in regards to either of them in their first start. I know DTR, had his moments, right? I thought he did some good things, but and then at some point the game just kind of snowballed away from Birmingham, and DC was able to find a way, like they have done all season, but this time in more of a dominant fashion, right? Which they also have done. So, I mean, it was really one of those games. I don't think DTR was all that bad. I thought, the Stallions have to figure out some other things too, right?
Yeah, I agree. You can't put any of the blame on DTR at all for that game. That's just bad play calling, bad, altogether. He played his heart out. You can't really blame him for almost anything. I think he's still one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league. You just you've got to make your offense around him. You've got to build your offense around the player that you've got. You can't go in there with your plays and your stuff like that and just think that he can adapt to it. You've got to adapt to your player. Your player can't adapt to you.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. I agree. You have all this talent on the roster. You have a lot of notable names that used to be in the NFL. John Ross, DTR, just a lot of names that, should not be struggling with this team. But, I do think that, with having DTR now and what he can do, that's just going to help you a lot in the long run. And, the Stallions maybe 1-4 now, but, just the fact that we were able to upgrade and, in spring football, literally anything could happen. I mean, heck, we can make a run for all we know. Who knows?
Yeah.
But, Chandler Rogers, of course, as we said. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to say my prediction now, but I feel like Louisville is on upset alert just with how they looked this last week. And, St. Louis, we've seen it in the last few weeks that, they may look good on paper, but they can still be pretty beatable. I mean, this is Ricky Proehl's first season as head coach. That I honestly think that could easily be game of the season.
Yeah. I think, Chandler Rogers really looked good. I thought DTR also, didn't look bad. I thought, Ducky said this: you have to build your offense around him. You have to put players that, could be among his caliber to potentially win games and to be competitive in games. So it's definitely interesting, but I think it should make for some even more exciting storylines come here in the last 5 weeks. So, all right. Mike Repole talks about talks on the Pat McAfee show about Diego Pavia and some expansion. Now, when I watched this, I went back and saw it for myself. When he was listing the cities, it seemed like he just did it to, he was kind of just throwing those out there. I don't think he had some real thought behind those. I'm sure you guys can. I mean, I don't think you had to have watched the full segment to kind of know that. It just, if you watched it enough times, like maybe on the UFL Instagram, like reel, you could probably figure out that he was just throwing those potential markets out there. There's not much thought.
He's a marketer at heart. So he'll do that. He'll say stuff like that to gauge interest, see what people comment, stuff like that. See who's, whenever he throws out city names, what happens is you can look on Google to see which areas are Googling the UFL, stuff like that, trending names and stuff like that. I think that's why he throws out all those cities. But I think expansion overall a great thing for the league, and I'm excited to see 10 teams in 2028 and then so forth. I think that's the right way to go. Eventually, 32 or more. But
Yeah. We knew the 32 to be very ambitious, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? We all of us from spring football won 32 teams, but it's just a matter of how long. Mike Repole also said in the interview, he was like, I don't have 10 years. Like, we want to get somewhere in a very fast process. Like, he said he was asked, like, how do you create new fans, with all this NFL draft, March Madness, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. Like, how do you create new engagement? And he said it was difficult, but the biggest thing is, at the end of the day, it's football, right? People are going to come out, people are going to watch, and people are going to have a good time. So he said that's also why the smaller soccer stadium model is more successful. I'm not going to say perfect, but more successful than the larger stadium model in which the league had previously adopted. So I was going to talk about how Diego Pavia signed a 3-year deal today. So the chances of him going spring football is not all that likely unless something happens to him during training camp, which actually I wouldn't rule out because he does, is a little bit of a hothead. And so that's just who he is, right? I wouldn't. They also have the Ben Simmons meme with Diego Pavia when he got signed for over Lamar. That was funny.
Yeah,
that was great.
I think Pavia sticks in the NFL. There's not very many guys like him that play with heart. It's at the end of the day, that's who you want on your team. You want somebody with heart. It's one of the most important things you can have as a player.
And another thing too is it's probably a blessing that he signed with Baltimore over a team like, I don't know, the New York Jets or the Cleveland Browns, to where his career is just absolutely doomed from there. But back to the original point, I think for a while I definitely wanted Repole to just get on the show and just try to shut McAfee up with how much trash he talks about the UFL. I mean, I'm not surprised. But even though it's weird that he just lists random markets, I do kind of like it just because it kind of creates a certain buzz now that he's done with Oklahoma City getting a team in 2028. But I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually get a New York City team or just somewhere that he has local ties to. But Diego Pavia, it was a lot of fun to just throw that name around UFL teams. I got slammed just for saying that maybe he could be a Stallion, even though that's completely unrealistic. No, it's the DTR show for sure.
Yeah, it's the DTR show. It's Pavia. Listen, he had a chance, right? There was a little period. There was actually a long period in which, from when he was undrafted to not being signed. So again, we're glad he found a destination. But at the same time, Mike Repole, when he was still unsigned, he's like, if he can come play for us, we'd do it, right? He was like, we'll suit him up and we'll have him play tomorrow. So it was definitely interesting. The Ravens also got UConn quarterback Joe Fagnano, and so their quarterback room, like the Browns, is full. The Browns are, funny story. They could have 5 or 6 quarterbacks. Hang on. I think it's 5.
Yeah, like 4 or 5.
Okay, 4 or 5. Yeah, it's off topic, but I thought it would come up when Diego, you brought up the Browns, and they also had Taylor Green, who got drafted late rounds, right? Who also one of those quarterbacks with potential, but has some other issues surrounding him, like more so like quarterback accuracy, pocket mechanics and all that stuff. So okay. The United Bowl revealed, all right, hosted in DC this June. So the name, they've started, just solely like marketing this event, right? They've started to put commercials out on this. They've started to put out like ticket packages and I'm glad it's in DC. That's my biggest thought. I think they picked a good location. I think it only helped that DC's been a good team so far. So whether or not they waited a little bit to kind of make that decision, like going into this season or took place during the season, I really like the decision to go to DC.
Yeah, I agree, especially considering the last two that have been in St. Louis. I think St. Louis fans in general, whenever St. Louis is playing, great place to be. Obviously they show up in the masses and stuff like that. But as we can see, the last 2 years when they haven't made it, the city just doesn't show up. They just don't care unless their team's in there. Whereas there's these other markets like the DC metro area and stuff like that. It's got so many people that are just sports fans in general. They'll show up no matter what. And it's a bigger airport. There's a lot more direct flights for people that are flying in, stuff like that. I think it's a very good. That in the stadium's just great. It's the perfect size. It looks good on TV. The beer snake section, those guys always show up, show out. Even if DC somehow magically doesn't make it, which I have DC going all the way, winning it all, but they're going to show up still just because they love the UFL, they love their city, stuff like that. I think it's probably. I'm biased towards Ohio because it's the birthplace of pro football. So I think that I would rather have it in Columbus or Canton, Ohio. Columbus because you can paint the field. I don't know if they can paint the field in DC for the championship. I'd like to see it painted.
They probably won't.
That's just me nitpicking at that point, though. But in terms of what you want to see, I think DC will show up, and I think you'll see a packed stadium for the championship there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it was definitely a no-brainer it was going to be in DC, but a runner-up I definitely had was Columbus. I feel like Cannon's kind of an old idea at this point. I don't know if Repole would even want to go there, just because with the change of leadership and the XFL, USFL bias.
Yeah. The Hall of Fame Village is kind of iffy right now too, as well, with the whole village. They've got their own issues going on, so nobody probably wants to touch that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to be a great championship. Another thing that should be touched up on is that the championship is actually going to be played on the 250th anniversary of the US. So if the UFL can just start pumping out some good marketing and just get people to know, I think it could easily be a full house even if DC doesn't make it.
I didn't even think about that. That's actually I forgot all about the 250th anniversary of the US. I mean, I didn't forget about it, but like DC, that is actually amazing marketing if they really think about it.
Yeah.
If they do it the right way, if they pump it that way, that's very smart marketing.
You gotta at Repole Stable on Twitter, right? That's the move.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure someone knows, right? It's a known event.
It's
right?
got to be.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably also why the league probably decided to put that one game in for that was in Fort Hood just to give the service members a chance to experience the league. And obviously we've seen the struggles in Frisco. It's kind of notorious that they've kind of not been able to get huge numbers even with FC Dallas. But I mean, I as we touched up on the podcast, I think that Fort Hood will make a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think Fort Hood was the smartest thing they could do with the circumstances that they had of not being able to play their fifth game. I think that's the best thing they could have done was exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah. There was a lot of interesting things. The league is starting to listen to. Well, they have historically. Well, at least Mike Repole. I'm not gonna speak about the old ownership group, but I will say they've been very responsive in some ways more than others. And we really appreciate that because it means a lot. The fans may not be as large in size as some other leagues, but when it's smaller, it's a lot easier to be heard. And so we're glad that they're picking up on some of our feedback. Okay, but one other thing I wanted to add was that we put out a picks post back a couple years ago, okay, when our podcast was either in our first or second year. And one of the titles, Diego used to make like custom titles for each matchup. Okay. And it was DC versus the San Antonio Brahmas. And it was called the United Bowl. Okay. The title that we came up with, Diego coined it. It was called the United. Okay. Right. And he should have been contracted.
Tell me about it. Or send me some free UFL tickets. I would love to go to Birmingham.
Yeah. I will say that was something you brought up, Diego, when they announced it, and it was something I forgot. It was bound to happen with how many times we did it and how many different matchups, how many different names we created. But I'm glad we got some feature and some no from that. So
yeah.
Okay.
That's also
yeah.
If you guys watch the IFL, their championship used to be called the United Bowl as well.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it's formally known as that. I don't know what it's called now, but it used to be called the United Bowl. I'm not exactly for sure on that, what it's called now.
Yeah. Well, is it called it's still a term, right? It's still like a similar term. It just says on here, it's just called the IFL National Championship.
Yeah.
It said formerly the United Bowl. So you're right. Yeah. But yeah, we're they didn't have to reach out or anything, right? I mean, not if it was the current name, then maybe.
It's not like the Super Bowl or anything like that where it's super marketed and trademarked like crazy.
Or March Madness, right?
Yeah. And also another thing that new trophy looks really good as well. I noticed that I think they took a mixture of both the old USFL and XFL trophy just in their designs to just make one, which I think it just looks really good. Only thing that sucks is that the players probably won't be able to put champagne and stuff into it like you could with the other two trophies. You just kind of gotta get smart with it.
Yeah, I'm biased. I love the USFL trophy. That was such a sleek looking trophy.
Yeah, I listen. I also missed the USFL. We had a generational run when we had that league. There were so many things to kind of to like about it. Being small in size, obviously it's the same size as now, but like some of the teams, like what their colors were, and the broadcasting, like that General Stallions game will forever. We'll always have
game one.
Yeah,
we'll always have a place in my heart. That game was special. Okay, and then we actually. So when we had Cam Eccles Looper, Roth, I remember. I think you remember seeing this. We asked about Randy Satterfield. What happened to him after that catch? And he essentially said that the game just wasn't. I guess his mind wasn't into it after that. I'm pretty sure he got hurt, but I think he made a decision to just not continue the football. So there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's why this league exists, right? Because players find out if they want to continue playing or not, right? That's a part of it. So, okay. So Week 6 predictions. Ducky, we came out with the Week 6 graphic of our picks before we confirmed that you were coming on. So we'll share ours, but then we'll get your game-by-game predictions for Week 6. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. One sec. Okay. We're going to have to probably do it on Instagram unless...
If I can, or if not, I could share it.
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing it, just because I have like kind of a weird layout. Okay, I appreciate that.
All right, one moment.
So, Ducky, we've done kind of this new thing. Yeah. So this new, so we've done.
Oh,
so I've sent this to you, right?
I've seen this.
Yeah.
You were voicing your complaint about the Columbus abbreviation.
Oh goodness!
And we changed it after Week 1.
I promise I'll never do that ever again.
Yeah. I will say it was funny because you were tossing around like some other teams like Colorado or they would never do
Yeah.
that, right?
I said Cole. I was like, we're not Colorado. We're in Columbus.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. So nonetheless, Diego and AJ are tied now at 12-8. Diego had 2 losses here. I can pull up week 5 on my end and just give a little preview of what that was. But what happened was, hang on. Let's see. No, this is okay. So what essentially happened was we had a little bit of a different like set where Diego just lost a couple games. He was leading for a little while. And then that's week 4. Did we had a week 5, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm trying to see did you send them to me?
I could find it really quick.
Oh yeah, you sent it to me. Okay.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, there we go. So we had a feature on last week too, Ducky. And we had everybody choose DC over Birmingham except Raf, which I'm not sure why he chose them. But then we had our feature choose St. Louis over Orlando. Everybody else chose Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And then AJ chose the Gamblers over the Aviators, which also shook things up. That's why he's tied. And then finally, Dallas versus Louisville was a sweep in favor of Dallas, which looked really
Yeah. That just screwed all of our records up.
Yeah. Okay, but nonetheless, week 6. So, Ducky, do you want to get into yours first? It's kind of it'll probably be easier.
Yeah. I'll have St. Louis versus Louisville. I'm gonna have to take Louisville on that just because they're red hot right now. I don't think you're stopping that team. They're clicking together so well. There's not enough film on Rodgers to practice on, stuff like that. I think Louisville takes it. Columbus, Houston, I'm taking the Aviators simply because the last matchup, this previous weekend, the Gamblers didn't win. The Aviators just simply lost that game. I don't think Houston was the better team. I think the Aviators were the better team. Once that fumble happened, the Aviators lost the game, but I think overall the Aviators are going to win 2 times out of 3 times. And that just happened to be the one time where the Houston Gamblers won. But I'm going to take the Aviators. DC, very obvious pick. And Birmingham, I'm taking over Orlando.
Yeah. No, you know what? I'll get into mine here before Diego, if you don't mind. So what happened was I wanted Louisville, right? I forgot. I clearly knew they had that game, right? But I chose St. Louis. I'm like, man, I wish we can go back in time and change it, but it's all good. I don't mind. I just I hope they can come on top. They should. Yeah. They'll be at Louisville. I hope Louisville wins at home, right? There's other factors I want to go right for Louisville. Although I picked St. Louis. I don't mind Louisville winning. I don't mind dropping my 10th pick incorrect, right? I said that as well when we had a sweep against the Aviators when Dallas was playing them, right? All of our members chose the Aviator or the Renegades. And I'm like, because I'm an Aviators fan, I don't mind dropping that because, it feels better. It feels better in some place of my thought process, right? So again, I got St. Louis over Louisville. Very nervous about that one, but we'll see.
That's probably my biggest toss up is that game.
Is it? Okay. I mean, we'll see. I hope St. Louis can look better they beat Orlando, but again, Orlando, has been what they have been, so it should be interesting. For Columbus, Houston, I choose Columbus. I also like what Ducky said. I don't think that game was lost by the AV. I just thought. I mean, they didn't. It's not that they didn't play well. I thought they just missed opportunities in some areas. Right. I think they'll look better at home. They have looked better at home, with the exception of the DC game. But I think no, I think that pick is pretty good. And then for the third game, I got DC winning. I don't think again, if I think with DC's defense, how they're playing, we could potentially see Greg Ward Jr., known quarterback too, come on the field. I want it to be Luke Lanen so bad. You don't know how like the numbers that would do on campus here. But it's a shame that Rick Neuheisel turning to the former college quarterback as opposed to like the 1 year or half of a year college quarterback to as opposed to like the 4 or 8 year, including high school quarterback. So, okay, so DC for that one, and then the final game, Birmingham versus Orlando. I have Orlando winning. Diego, I know you picked your home team. I don't like. It's not that I don't like that pick. I just I could also be a toss up, right? We saw we're seeing now DTR take on his former team, potentially for some revenge, but I think Orlando may just get the best of you guys. And yeah, Ducky said they may not be looking that good, but listen, I think they'll be able to pull it off. My opinion. So,
Good coaches.
yeah, good coaches, right? Sometimes that's all you need, right? The way Birmingham's playing defensively, if you look at that, I don't know. I think Orlando could take advantage of some things, whether that's run game, pass game, whatever you want to say. Okay, Diego, did you want to?
Yeah.
Go?
So kind of how I said earlier, I got Louisville winning in that game against the Bellhawks. I just feel like they need to get something if they want to keep their season alive. Even if you drop this game, you still have a chance. But I feel like this game just has a very great chance of just being something monumental for them. And then, of course, you got the Kentucky Derby starting the day after, which I think it's just going to be a very loud environment. And then that next week, I got Houston over the Aviators. Sorry, Ferris and Ducky. I just feel like that, kind of what I just said. I feel like that this is a great opportunity to get something going. If Nolan Henderson, then, we can see how he does, even though he can look very inconsistent at times. But I would not be surprised if the Aviators are able to get this going just because of the home advantage, the flight deck, and, Jalen McClendon, he's had some low lights, but, I could see him get something going. And former Vegas Viper legend. Never forget. But then the next game in DC, I got the Defenders winning that one. If it weren't for how the Renegades played, I would probably go with Dallas, but I think there's no stopping DC, as we said. And then the next game, this one's really interesting. It's very wishful and delusional thinking for me, but I went with Birmingham on this one because I don't know. I just believe in this team. I kind of ate out my words about a week or two ago when we lost, but I hope this time it could be different. Hopefully, Age McCarron can just get something going, just breathe some life into this team.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Aside from DC, this league has so much parity, meaning anybody can beat anybody. It's also very, very hard to beat a team twice. So I think Birmingham has a good chance. It's so hard to beat a team twice in professional settings like this in any sport. So that's why I'm not picking Houston and I'm not picking Orlando, because it's just tough to beat a team twice. We saw it with Dallas and the Aviators. Dallas beat the Aviators game 1, and then game 2, Columbus came out and beat them.
Yeah. It is again, it's all interesting things, right? I mean, it's really general football terms. It's not even just the UFL. It really happens in the NFL as well and other football leagues, whether that's arena or college. But yeah, so those are our picks. AJ tied with Diego. He's got the Battlehawks, Gamblers, Renegades, and the Storm. And then Roth has the Battlehawks, Aviators, Defenders, and the Storm. A little bit different. This is actually, out of the last couple of weeks, this week's a little bit. There's no sweep, which is a little different. And then as well, the picks are just more balanced. Really, these are more it's coming to that point in the year where a lot of these can be toss-ups, right? I think the Houston Columbus game has a chance of being a really good one. I think Houston can, like Diego said, Nolan Henderson looked pretty good, right? I mean,
as long as Kevin Sumlin doesn't do anything remotely stupid, then yes, I think they could probably win. It's honestly a miracle they were even able to pull it off with how he iced his own kicker.
I was about to say, asking Kevin Sumlin not to do something stupid is pretty much asking for a miracle. So,
yeah. Look, it's all interesting. I'm one game behind. AJ and Diego are now tied. Roth still has a long way to go, but with how he's always historically trailed when we've done these, I wouldn't be surprised if he finds a way by the end of the season. So, Ducky, you can also at some point you can just at me in the Discord and just be like, hey, like I told you so, or maybe at the end of the week show me your picks and be like, hey, like how did you stack up against us? Because we would have included you if we found but send them to me. Like I can also see them through the PFN picks. Like I can tap on if you chose on those this week. I don't know if you did, but I'm not. You don't have.
I haven't done it yet this week. I'll do it right after this.
Okay. Well, I'll look through that and see like how you stacked up, and then I'll let if we'll see if you beat us, because I think JT may have beaten us last week. Just like
I went 3-1 last week. I had Aviators beating. I had Aviators winning, and then the rest I had losing, or the rest I had picked correctly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, just send them through, and I'll. I just like seeing the competition, friendly competition. Okay. All right. So any closing thoughts from anybody before we hop off the air, do all the good stuff like posts? Ducky will make sure to mention you on our social media, as well as whatever else we can do to promote you. I will say this week's going to be interesting. A lot of these it's just good to see another week of football. I'm hoping I'll be able to watch more games this week. Last week I was tied up with something all day on Saturday, so it kind of limited me. Actually, we had the night game on Saturday. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was it okay? Yeah. It was a long day, so I was tired. I really didn't catch much of it, and then Sunday it was kind of just I was kind of all over the place resting, and so. Hopefully to catch more games this week. The St. Louis-Louisville game is on Thursday, and then you have Houston and Columbus taking place on Friday night, which Ducky, I don't know if you agree with this, but we actually like the Friday game night slot. I think you like it.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Friday Night Lights. I just love that time slot in particular, just because not everybody's a weekend warrior. You want to give those Friday night games, you want somebody to be there for those games. And I mean, Columbus has 3 8 p.m. Friday night games at home. So this entire season. So I personally like them because I can fly. Technically, I live in Denver, but I fly to Columbus for the games. So it's nice having it at the later end of the day. That way I can just fly in Friday. But I like it overall. It's just, you can't hate Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, no, I think just to piggyback off that, I think it's a treat as a college student, a lot of stress, of course, just a lot of stuff happening. But the one thing I could always look forward to at the end of the week is those Friday games. And then I wanted to pick your brain really quick. Just talk to me about the flight deck. I know you had talked about bringing out the flags, kind of how the Columbus crew did when they played that historic crew. Just tell me the whole vibe.
So the flight deck, the inspiration was from the MLS team in Columbus, which is the crew. They have a super fan section. They used to play in the stadium that the Aviators play in. Now they've moved stadiums, stuff like that. But it used to be called the Nordeca section. Some people call it the Nordeck. Some people call it the Nordeca. It's technically pronounced Nordeca. But I took inspiration from that because I remember going to a couple games and seeing those fans there, and they were so crazy, waving flags around. They had smoke grenades, stuff like that. probably one of the biggest. Actually, I can't say, aside from the one time I went to a Penn State game, it was probably like the most craziest fan experience I could experience. And it was unbelievable. And I wanted to recreate that in Columbus. So once I found out the name, the Aviators, and I was like, well, whenever they're flying, where the pilots sit and stuff, it's called the flight deck. And it used to be called the cockpit. I don't know. We can't use that name anymore, but I called it the flight deck, and then I stuck the little E at the end, kind of like how the Nordeca has the E at the end, because Nordeca it's actually German for northeast corner, because there's a German history in Columbus. But so I stuck the little E at the end just to give it a nod to the section that it used to be, and so far so good. I mean, there's a lot of MLS supporters from the crew that come to those games, and it's awesome. Last week we had, not 2 weeks ago, we had everybody flying the flags that they gave out, and then the week before that the section was completely sold out. There was not a empty seat there, and everybody was just loud and crazy and obnoxious, and in a good way. And just it was just it's awesome. It's just nice to see in spring football that there's a fan section that actually takes pride in their team and shows up for their team. And I'm hoping that it kicks off to the other fan bases, and hopefully Columbus can start winning some more games and let these fans show up a little bit more, because it has been dwindling down each game, So, but Columbus is a very passionate city, very passionate about their teams, no matter what score it is, what the record is. And so I think overall, they'll keep showing up. But yeah, it's an awesome section. It's my favorite place to be on a Friday night or on a weekend in general, whenever the Saturday and Sunday game comes.
Yeah. So you will be in attendance this week? No?
I will be in attendance this week. I will be at every single Columbus home game. I wasn't there this week because I was in Seattle, but every away game they host at Combustion Brewery, which is a local brewery in Columbus.
Yeah.
And we have a watch party every single weekend there. And then obviously game weeks that are home, we're all on the flight deck. It's just the culture's good in Columbus. I think once they get somebody from Columbus to start marketing the team, somebody who knows the culture in Columbus, working together with the flight deck and stuff like that, we can actually get the ball rolling and just market the team in general from somebody in Columbus, and not, I hate this. This is the one nitpicky thing. You can't have somebody from Arlington, Texas that thinks they know what they're doing in Columbus, Ohio. Two different cultures there. That's my one pick about the league. Get local marketers.
Yeah, because they don't. They have the centralized model where they kind of limit their ability to have just other people involved. It's kind of a one man crew in Arlington, when you should in reality have different individuals spread it out throughout the entirety of the markets. And they kind of obviously the league tries to do their best, like with social media initiatives, but it's not enough. It's you have to.
Yep. That was my issue whenever I started the flight deck. I was hoping the league would try to do something with it, and just nothing, So I took matters into my own hands, and I started contacting other businesses and stuff like that, and I started promoting the league itself, and I got a brewery to do a watch party for the flight deck and stuff like that, which I've seen the Kings have their thing with the Kings court, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I got a beer for the flight deck. I didn't do it. The brewery did it, obviously, but we've got a branded beer. Just stuff like that to help market the league. And then I've got a clothing company that started doing flight deck merch. Just stuff like that, little things like that. Just you need somebody that knows the culture of Columbus to market Columbus.
Yeah.
Just because it's not Arlington, Texas.
Yeah, and I'm looking it up here. Nordeck actually, it's a very established thing, like you said. Like, they have a shop on it. Like, they have a website in which I pulled up. They have socials. They have a board of directors. They have so they have a lot of things. Like, I'm sure you want to get the flight deck to level at some point. Obviously, the sooner the better. But you need the league to do their part now, right? Because
it's pretty much where I'm at now.
Yeah, you're doing
Yeah.
over. Yeah.
It's I do have people helping me with Flight Deck, but it's
Yeah.
to the point now to where I think I do need a board of directors to help me, like, because I also do stuff for PFN. I'm a photographer for them, but I also do Flight Deck. So it's like I'm juggling these two things, and it's just so much stuff to do and not enough time to do it, not enough hands to do it, stuff like that. But I'm doing the best I can with it. I think I'm doing a pretty good job with the Flight Deck. I think people like it so far. It's my pride and joy. So
Yeah. Again, you do it because you love it, right? That's why a lot of our players are in the league, right?
That's the number one thing I tell people. Don't come into spring football doing this stuff expecting to be famous or get money off of it. Just do it for the passion, do it for the love, and eventually everything will come back to you, you know?
Yeah. And also, I will say Ethan Birch, he's the digital coordinator for the UFL. Like, he writes all the recaps. I remember I was showing my boss, who's the director of athletics communication here. He does like all the recaps, like for our athletics. Well, at least for the sports that he's the primary contact for. But he thought that every team would have like their own person that would write the recap. So that's also potentially another thing that the league could do, is like, as opposed to Ethan writing 4 game recaps a week, which he has now for 5 weeks consecutively, and will for the next 5 weeks and the playoffs. Right. That's also another thing. Again, it'll probably be more part-time. Like, he's the only full-time guy like doing that. But again, it's just a side note. Again, we need. I'm sure the league will look at all this and make changes where needed. So, all right. So, did you guys have anything else, Ducky? We'll probably get this out tomorrow morning, just because we do this on Google Meet, so the episode processes, and loads, in which we probably will receive it like later tonight, and then I'll go on and do all the posting and all the fun stuff tomorrow. We'll make sure to shout you out. I'll maybe send it in the UFL General if self promotion allows. I'm sure they'll.
You could put it in there, dude. Nobody cares. I don't think anybody's gonna come after you on that.
Okay.
And if they do, I'll just post it.
If they do, yeah. Well, we have.
Actually, if you send it to me, I'll put it in announcements too. So.
Oh, okay, that's great. Yeah. So.
And then a quick thing, Ducky, too. If you have any like player or coach connections, if you want to, like, at some point, if you have any players that maybe would be interested in coming in a podcast, I think we would appreciate it, because we have mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that we would love to get more players on the air.
Yeah. Are you guys connected with the PR yet?
PR,
as in the
like
UFL PR?
Like UFL comms?
No.
So we have to go through them to even get players on around the UFL. So basically, in order for us to get players to come on to our show, we have to go through comms, and we have to sit there and email them 10,000 different times. Hey, can we get a player on the show? And we'll have players come out, like, reach out to us, like, hey, you want to be on the show? And we're like, that's great. We'd love to have you on the show. We have to get it approved through UFL comms, pretty much.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that was our issue whenever we were just starting out too. We had players come on the show, and then UFL PR reached out, and they were like, hey, you guys can't do that. So if you guys go to their website, I think you can reach out to them, like email them and stuff like that, and they might. It just depends. It depends on how big you are, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have Larson, so he does so much with them and stuff like that. And I don't really talk to PR all that much because they don't like me, but just because I'm very well spoken. But yeah, they don't like to email me back.
We have gotten players in the past, and that's thank you for telling us that, because that may or may not have been allowed.
Were they active?
No, so Davion Davis was active.
Was it during the season?
No. I don't
You're
think.
good.
Usually,
You're
all
good.
of our like interviews that we do, they've been prior to the season beginning.
Yeah,
You're
we
good.
did-
As long as if it's the off season, you're good.
we did
Mhm.
Channing Stribling for our second ever episode. Like I think, yeah, that one actually got like a big viewing. That was the very early on part of our podcast, but we got Channing Stribling. He was the cousin of AJ, one of our members. So that's
Okay.
yeah, that's just a close connection.
Yeah.
He's
And
playing,
then
yeah,
and then for Davion Davis and Cam Eccles-Luber, that was kind of random chance. I kind of just went in their DMs on Instagram. Hey, do you want to come on? And then they said yeah.
Hell yeah.
If it works, it works, but it wasn't in the season, so I don't think we won't get in trouble or anything like that. But Ducky, thank you for letting us know that we should go through PR if we need to reach out to the players during the season.
Yeah.
And Ducky, thank you for joining us once again for all of the discussion you had to put on tonight. And Diego, thank you as well for all the graphics, all the behind the scenes work you do. And look forward to another great week of football. And I'll try to be more active in the PFN this weekend. I'll see if time allows. We'll see what happens during the games. But that Thursday night game should be a good one, and all the other ones should be good too. So I'm excited for another week, and thank you guys for joining once again. And have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.